and nameplates for the new stars. And what's a star without a director's chair? And old friendships revived despite new uniforms. And the stars themselves making like fans. Sign here, please, asked Kirby. And would you guys mind saying cheese? Scenes you'll see only at the All-Star Game.
From the Kansas City Royals, shortstop Kurt Stillwell. First baseman George Brett. Pitcher Mark Gubicza. From the Milwaukee Brewers, pitcher Dan Plesac.
So Clark talking about Gooden as you look at the American League bench, and as Tim mentioned, more than half of the 56 on both rosters. And it will bring up Will Clark. Speaking of deep depth, George Brett on that bench.
Let's see, we saw Puckett 350, Brett sitting 330. I mean, boy, this is a great team to manage. And they can play defense. And I think that is one thing that
Eddie bats for his teammate Viola. So Steinbach, and a lot of people felt he shouldn't be here. They thought there was some ballot box rigging in Oakland, and they punched out his name.
Well, for a guy that's not supposed to be here, he had a grand slam swing. I mean, we already saw him homer to right field. That's a helicopter on a ball up and in. Great at bat extension. Looking for a pitch he knows he can hit a fly ball in, and does. Pretty good piece of hitting.
So Steinbach has driven in both runs. The American League leads 2-0, 2 out and 2 on. And Johnny Ray. A run, 2 hits, and 2 left after 3 1/2. The American League leads 2-0 in Cincinnati.
IBM presents You Make the Call. With a runner on second, a batted ball hits an umpire before the fielder has a chance to field it. Is the base runner allowed to score? You make the call. Anytime a ball hits an umpire before a fielder has a chance to field it, it's a dead ball. Give the batter a hit, but if you said the runner goes back to second, you made the right call.
And we come back to Cincinnati. Kurt Stillwell of the Royals on the left, and you saw Harold Reynolds, and in between innings, Gary Gaetti, who's already been in the game, and he can enjoy himself for the rest of the night as the All-Star Game moves along. Mark Gubicza of Kansas City comes into pitch, and Vince Coleman leads off for the National League. The National League without a base runner. 9 up and 9 down, and now Gubicza, who's won 12 for the Royals. This is low to Coleman, ball 2. Coleman, Sandberg, and Dawson. Bottom of the 4th inning. 2-0 American League.
It was very important to keep Vince Coleman off the bases with 45 steals. Gubicza, to be successful, has to keep the ball down. Something he's obviously done this year. 12-6 last year, 12-5 already at this point this season. 6'5", 210. Good sinking fastball. A little bit of breaking ball and a changeup.
4-hit shutout Friday at New York. Line drive, left field, base hit. And so the National League has its first hit, first base runner. And it's Vince Coleman with his 45 steals at first base with nobody out. And Herzog, knowing that Vince knows the signs, and you've got Nick Leyva coaching at third, so everybody's at home here.
Vince has not driven in a run in 40 games, and Whitey Herzog said, this better not be the game that he drives in a run. But once he gets on first with nobody out, the chances go dramatically up that he's going to score a run.
I was kidding Whitey before the game. I said every time you manage in a big game, a guy named Bush throws out the first ball. With a C or without one. Coleman held on by McGuire at first base.
We'll take a look at the quick throw as McGuire tries to tag Coleman. You see his hand just barely get in there. Now what you want to do if you're Gubicza is get the ball as quickly to Steinbach as you can and keep Coleman from getting a running lead.
Huge lead, pitches a strike, and the throw is too late, rolls into center field, and Coleman goes to third. That's so the crowd finally has something to cheer about.
I was talking to Terry Steinbach yesterday, and I said, what do you think they're going to try to do? He says they're going to try to run me out of the park, and this is what Coleman's trying to do. Steinbach really should have held this ball. He had no chance. Ripken tries to block it. Ball goes into center, and take another look. Coleman's so quick, he's just up and into third base.
Still nobody out. 0-1 is the count, and the next pitch is fouled back off the bat of Sandberg. Infield is playing back, so they'll give up a run on a ground ball. American League leading 2-0. Bottom of the fourth.
That really is the mindset, even if you're a pitcher. You know, with a 2-0 lead, you don't want to be so worried about Coleman that you allow the tying and possibly winning run to come to the plate.
Oh, good breaking pitch. The prototypical 0-2 pitch.
Again,
Get him to chase it, and that's what he did.
Goes back to what we said. Sandberg probably hasn't seen Mark Gubicza, so all he sees is 2 fastballs, and then he goes fishing for this low and away breaking ball. Quite effective.
So Sandberg gets punched out in the first inning by Viola, and now in the fourth by Gubicza, and Andre Dawson is the batter. He commits, and the count is 0-1.
You've just seen 2 swings because hitters are unfamiliar with the pitchers. Not only are the pitchers of quality, but the hitters on both teams are very unfamiliar with them, and that's one of the big reasons that pitching usually dominates an All-Star game.
I think it's the single most important factor. That combined with the fact that in recent times there have been a number of games played on the West Coast. Dodger Stadium in 80, Candlestick in 84. Oakland last year, San Diego in 78 in the twilight.
Anaheim next year.
Yep. Foul back. 1-2 the count on Dawson.
Well, those are some of the points that Whitey Herzog said. What would he change about the All-Star game? He'd limit pitchers to 1 inning. No 5 o'clock games. That's because he wants his hitters to have a chance. And also he'd take away the he would take away pitchers hitting and institute the DH.
And that's what they're going to do next year in the American League parks anyway. The DH will be used in the All-Star game at Anaheim. And that's in the dirt. It gets away from Steinbach. He can't find it, and Coleman scores. So Vince Coleman doing what he does so often in St. Louis. Single, steal to third on a bad throw, and home on an errant pitch. A wild pitch here.
And the National League doing what it does best with the running game. A faster team than the American League. The American League runs coming on the power. The home run by Steinbach, and Terry has been involved in all 3 runs.
He has been the man of the hour. That's grounded back to Gubicza. He knocks it down, loses his glove, stays with it, throws high, pulls McGuire off first base. Gubicza had everything in order until the very end when the throw pulls him off. And that scored a base hit, and they're going to check Gubicza.
Well, it's doubtful he's ever had to throw a ball without a glove on. And he throws against his body. You can see the high throw. They call that a snow cone, and Dawson's in on the air, I assume, on the high throw by Gubicza.
I think they're going to be charitable here and give him a base hit. They are. Willie McGee goes into pinch run for Dawson and might stay in the game as Strawberry comes to the plate. So McGee running at first.
So McGee stealing at first if he wishes. He's attempted it 30 times, been successful 26 times. Whitey knows his players, especially the ones from the Cardinals.
And that's grounded back to second. Great stop by Molitor, but he has to eat it. And again, Molitor, who really hasn't played second on an everyday basis in about 5 years, getting the nod there in the All-Star balloting and doing an incredible job tonight.
And the fans, once again, show that they know what they're talking about when they put Molitor in second base. He's played 1 game there this year. those lines, the ball players talk about the fans voting, and the ball players were asked to vote for George Brett, and George Brett was picked 6th as a third baseman.
That's right.
He has played third all year.
Word travels slowly sometimes. Bonilla fouls it away in the count 0-1. It's like some of those All-American college football teams that are announced every year postseason. You find out half the time the guy on the second team was injured all year, didn't play.
But he was a preseason first-string pick.
Absolutely. That's the difference. 0-1 on Bobby Bonilla, who gets brushed back, and the count is 1-1.
That'll get your attention. I mean, Gubicza well over 90 miles per hour with that fastball.
Fouled away, and it's a ball and 2 strikes on Bobby Bonilla. National League dugout. Vance Law of the Cubs. And a look down into Riverfront Stadium. Capacity about 55,000. Ballpark opening in late June of 1970 and hosting the All-Star Game for the second time. Bonilla hits one down the line in right field, and it is a foul ball. Foul ball. So McGee has to go back, and Strawberry has to go back. And Gubicza is fortunate that the count is still 1-2.
Take another look. This is a camera we used in the World Series last year. It gives you a perfect example of whether the ball is fair or foul. You can see for yourself it just hooks foul at the end. What a hitter, Bonilla. 17 home runs, 12 from the left side, 5 from the right side. Mike LaValliere said his weakness is he only hits the ball 450 feet right-handed and only 420 feet left-handed. So what a weakness to have.
1 out, 2 on, and the 1-2 pitch to Bonilla is outside. American League on top, 2-1 in the bottom of the 4th inning. Willie McGee at second base. Strawberry at first. Two-two to Bonilla. Is hit to right field and right at Winfield, and the runners hold. So Bonilla, after nearly stroking one fair for a double in the lead, flies out to right. 2 gone. Bobby back to the dugout, and it sends Will Clark of the Giants to the plate. Tom Kelly, Dick Such, Rick Rennick. He's brought all of his coaches, and there's Bobby Valentine, the manager of the Texas Rangers, who, along with Tom Trebelhorn, the manager of the Brewers, serving as the coaches. And in the background there, Bobby Doerr, the honorary captain, the Red Sox Hall of Famer. Clark hits it sharply on one hop to Molitor at second, and Paul throws him out. They get a run in the 4th to make it 2-1. American League on top as we go to the 5th, and we're back in Cincinnati after this word from your locals. Changes for the American League. Now, Carney Lansford finally gets to play in an All-Star game. Good career. He's in the lineup at third base. As we start the 5th inning, Harold Reynolds of the Seattle Mariners takes over at second base. Lansford hits first. Reynolds will bat in the number 3 spot, as Carter fouls it away off Gubicza. And Kirby Puckett of the Minnesota Twins, having another great season, bats in the number 2 spot and takes over in center field. And the honorary team captain for the National League, Willie Stargell, mans the lines at first base. There's Wilbur Dornell, who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame on the 31st of July. What a career.
475 home runs, the same as Stan Musial.
Carter goes down on strikes, and Steinbach throws to McGuire to make it official.
And the first time Carter has struck out in All-Star competition, his 11th All-Star game. And again, it was the slider down in the dirt.
So Gary is gone, 1 away. And again, we mentioned earlier, Lance Parrish is the only other catcher for the National League, bothered by a bad back. In fact, Lance hasn't started a game since early last week. So Carter figures to go some. Ripken takes care of Smith. 2 down. And Van Slyke will come up, and we have Will Clark downstairs with Joe Morgan.
Thanks, Al. Will, any thrills out there? You call Will the thrill. Did you get nervous in your first All-Star game?
I wasn't real nervous, but it was great to play, and it was extremely fun out there.
The Giants have won 5 in a row. You're within 2.5 of the Dodgers. Can you do it again?
We're going to try. Hopefully All-Star break will get over with as quick as possible, and we get back on the field.
Back to you, Al.
Okay, Joe. As we proceed in the bottom of the 5th inning, as Van Slyke swings and fouls one down the left field line out of play, the count 0-1. Makes the catch, drops the ball. The crowd at Riverfront Stadium, home of the big red machine of the 70s. Tough times in the 80s for the Reds, up and down, and some second-place finishes, and Reds struggling this year, but Pete Rose trying to turn things around, and they did get a little hot over the weekend against Philadelphia, trying to climb back into the race. 2-1 the count. Mike Greenwell of the Boston Red Sox awaiting his chance. Van Slyke at the plate, 2-1. And Andy hits a grounder down to Reynolds, and the Mariners second baseman throws him out. 3 up and 3 down in the 5th. We'll go to the 6th in the All-Star game. Still American League 2, National League 1.
We talked about earlier, the American League to win has to have a good defensive ball club capable of winning one-run ball games. They have their stoppers, so to speak. They got Dan Plesac out in the mound with over 20 saves. They have a great defensive ball club, and they have a guy on the mound that's been out there all year doing exactly what he's expected of tonight.
As the All-Star game moves into the 9th with the Americans on top 2-1, and George Brett comes up to pinch hit, and he'll face Todd Worrell of the St. Louis Cardinals as we start the 9th inning. 2 guys that faced each other in the 1985 World Series.
Worrell with 16 saves at 98 miles per hour. I think they're going to have to pass a rule. Only the major league average fastball can pitch in this game, which is about 85. Whew.
Vance Law is also in the game at second base. And there is Vance. Vance, who is one of the half-dozen Cubs, plays third in Chicago, but to get him into the game as Worrell throws a change for a strike. Whitey's got to move Law in at second to replace his teammate Sandberg. One and 2 the count on Brett. Brett is appearing for the 13th time in a row in All-Star games, but he's been hurt, and so he's only played in 10. He's missed 3. He's been replaced on 3 occasions because of injuries. Pulley was ready to pull up the right hand.
Well, you have an idea of how why George Brett's such a great hitter. 98 miles per hour. You got to get the bat started. He tried to, then knew it was a ball, or at least assumed it was a ball, and it was. Gives him another chance.
Still 3 and 2 on Brett.
Robert Wall was the coach in Bull Durham. Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon. You've seen that movie. That was a great flick. Minor league lingo.
Major league pop-up at the Major League All-Star game. Worrell says it's coming down, and Galarraga makes the catch. Boy, was that baby up there a long time. Let's go to Joe Morgan. American League, Dennis Eckersley having a sensational season out of the A's bullpen, and here's a guy who started the All-Star game in 1982 in Montreal as a member then of the Boston Red Sox, but now the closer He comes in, and Kurt Stillwell takes over as the shortstop. Bonilla stays in the entire game and breaks his bat. It's a soft looper caught by Stillwell. And the crowd views that one with mixed emotions. Stillwell, the former Red, traded to Kansas City because Kirby Puckett is going to put it away. And the American League wins it by a score of 2-1. So Bobby Doerr, the honorary captain, and congratulating Kelly. Dennis Eckersley out of the bullpen to pick up the save. Terry Steinbach, the controversial choice. The Oakland catcher, amidst the fireworks exploding in downtown Cincinnati, winds up as the key man in the game, as the American League, with stout pitching and good defense, beats the National League 2-1.